In the heart of a sprawling metropolis where residents showcased their wealth through lavish cars, a woman, undeniably among the nation's richest, lived without one. She walked, shattering assumptions that wealth must be displayed, driven, or proclaimed, while others of her stature cruised in luxurious vehicles and convoys. Amanda, a multi-billionaire, never drove. Owning a global empire, numerous oil blocks, and over 100 properties, she was one of the wealthiest women in the country. Yet, Amanda shunned the spotlight wealth often attracts. Unassuming, she saw no divide between rich and poor. She roamed the streets daily in plain clothes that concealed her fortune, befriending market women, hawkers, and beggars who blessed her when she dropped money into their bowls. We admired her way of life. Not everyone found her choices sensible, though. Aware she could afford any car, but chose to walk, some labeled her stingy or foolish. Even her employees drove flashy cars, while she wandered the streets like an ordinary person. Whispers trailed her, some mocked, others feared her. Rumors swirled. Amanda was mad, had traded her soul for wealth, or couldn't ride in cars. Some claimed she was cursed, that disaster would strike if she ever entered a vehicle. Years ago, when she was kidnapped, tales spread that her abductors died mysteriously, and people credited Amanda, who returned home on foot the next day. The story grew legendary in the city. Witnesses said the kidnappers tried to force her into a van, but it wouldn't start. Eventually, they perished, leaving Amanda unharmed. After that, even the boldest criminals crossed the street to avoid her. Amanda neither confirmed nor denied these tales. She continued strolling Lagos's bustling streets, smiling, greeting people by name, and buying food from roadside vendors. She walked through rain and sun while others sneered or laughed. One morning, outside an auto repair shop where Amanda chatted with a roadside painter, a young reporter, Cynthia, approached. "Madam," she panted, "may I ask one question? Why don't you ever drive?" Amanda, ignoring her, smiled at the painter, promised to return, and walked away. Undeterred, Cynthia followed, insisting, "I'm not mocking you, I swear. I just want to understand." Amanda paused, eyeing the breathless reporter clutching a notepad, her press tag dangling. "You want to understand?" Amanda asked in a calm, steady voice. "Then leave me alone and stop following me." As Amanda crossed the street, Cynthia, eager to pursue, stepped into traffic. A motorcycle hit her, sending her notepad's pages flying like frantic birds. Her head cracked against the pavement. Horrified onlookers screamed as Cynthia was rushed to a hospital. Many blamed Amanda, who sustained minor injuries herself. "I told you she's cursed," they whispered, their fear deepening. Amanda remained unfazed. She covered Cynthia's medical bills and visited her daily until her release, ignoring those who held her responsible. Months later, Amanda left her mansion for her usual walk to the office. The sun blazed after an hour's trek. Spotting a frightened girl hesitant to cross the street, Amanda, mindful of Cynthia's accident, decided to help. Smiling, she gently took the child's hand, and they crossed together. Traffic halted at a red light, but as they reached the road's center, a white Mercedes screeched to a stop beside them, its driver slamming the brakes. The car narrowly avoided hitting them, and the young girl screamed and stood frozen in fear. Amanda drew her close to her in an effort to protect her, noticing how frightened she was. As onlookers gasped in disbelief, hands bled profusely. When the driver of the automobile threw open the door and marched toward them in anger, the street was entirely silent. "Are you mad?" she asked Amanda, who was attempting to apologize to Rain in order to make peace, but the young woman wasn't having it. She urged Amanda to pay attention to her as she trailed her. "Answer me, you poor woman. Were you sent by them? Do you wish to wash someone's automobile? This is a 75 million naira Benz, and your whole family combined would be unable to purchase it. Rather than checking for traffic before crossing the street, you are prancing about, searching for someone to hit you so that you can file a claim against them. As Amanda offered her nothing further, the young lady screamed in fury. Amanda was caught off guard by the crowd that started to form. She was glad that nobody recognized her, as she left the scene, and went directly to her workplace. All of her employees in the lobby of her firm's headquarters, who were wearing elegant suits and shining heels, froze as she strolled toward the private lift that would take her to her office. Nuna, her assistant, a tall, elegant woman in her early 30s, was waiting by the private elevator with a tablet under her arm. Nuna possessed a subdued sophistication that garnered respect, but did not seek notice. The University of Lagos conferred a Frostcast degree. She had climbed the ranks from a junior analyst role to become the personal assistant to the most influential woman in the nation. Not due to connections, but rather due to her integrity, precision, and steadfast dedication to Madame Amanda. She spoke seldom, but when she did, people listened, much to the bewilderment of the employees, who found it strange. She was described as Amanda's shadow, constantly accompanying her, observing her, and listening to her. The majority of individuals were unaware that Nuna had experienced the loss of her parents in a building collapse 10 years prior. The negligence of a construction company, which Awi's company eventually shut down, was found to be the cause of the tragedy. Madame Amanda also never forgot, nor did Nuna. Since then, their relationship had evolved into one that was more than simply professional. It was based on trust, shaped by loss, and connected by an unspoken awareness of suffering. He had discovered a goal in her, not just a supervisor. Nuna positioned herself in her usual spot, her eyes glued to her tablet, but her thoughts always 3 steps ahead, as they entered the lift going to her office. Minutes later, they arrived at the office, and Amanda stood by the glass wall in her office while Nuna held her tablet motionless in the corner. As she stood there for a moment, savoring the view and uttering a brief prayer before going to her chair, the city's vista seemed to go on forever. For her, this was a daily routine. She took a moment of silence to gather her thoughts and thank God for the grace that had transformed her life. Willie started each day with thankfulness, regardless of the chaos outside, the rumors surrounding her, or the vitriol they spewed in the streets. Nuna, still clutching her tablet, cleared her throat gently and told her that Chief Obey was there. The Chief Obeys was the managing director of Presco Construction, a firm that had competed for a contract with her business for several years. Amanda had always been careful about awarding his firm the contract. Although she appreciated his commercial prowess, she was hesitant to award him the contract because of rumors about his lax morals. Nevertheless, she had consented to meet him today, perhaps out of courtesy and curiosity. Let him in, she told her assistant, Nuna, who went out to do so. A few moments later, she smiled as she froze upon seeing her into the office. She had just insulted Amanda a few moments earlier down the street, and it was the same woman. Chief Obey had an emergency to attend to a few minutes ago, and she was his only child. He then asked his daughter to stand in for him at the meeting, which he had pledged to attend in a few minutes. On her way to see her father's business, Precious, his daughter, nearly bumped into Amanda by the side of the road. She was unaware that the woman she had so offended was the one her father had been yearning to see. Precious had learned a lot about Amanda. She was aware of how much her father admired her, and even prayed for her to receive the position for which they had applied. Now she was standing in front of Amanda, her self-assurance wavering as she begged for pardon. Amanda remained motionless behind her desk, her face impossible to read. For several long seconds, she said nothing, allowing Precious's unease to seep into the air like smoke. With a quivering voice, Precious stepped forward unsteadily. "I apologize, Madam Amanda. I had no idea it was you. I apologize for my previous remarks. I didn't give it any thought." Amanda got up from her seat slowly and approached her. "Vous n'avez pas besoin de savoir que c'est moi," dit-elle doucement, son visage serein alors tu le regardais directement dans les yeux de Precarious. All you had to do was show respect to another person. Tears flowed from Precious' eyes. Honestly, I was livid. She confided in Amanda, who shook her head disapprovingly and said, I didn't mean to. I hadn't intended to call myself a needy woman, nor mock a stranger publicly, judging their plain clothing or dusty feet. As her father entered the office, smiling and apologizing to Amanda for his brief absence, Precious bowed her head in shame. I am truly sorry for not arriving earlier, Madam Amanda. I trust my daughter has shown you our proposal, he said as Amanda moved to her chair, frowning. Chief Obey sensed something was wrong. Glancing at his daughter, he noticed her silence and red, tearful eyes but got no answer. Turning to Amanda, he learned their company's bid was rejected. Stunned, Chief Obey blinked, and Amanda explained her decision stemmed from his daughter's behavior. That reflects your business judgment, and my company can't afford such risk, she said calmly, unwilling to entrust a legacy to someone impulsive yet compassionate and knowledgeable. Chief Obey, baffled, stared at his daughter in disbelief. Furious, he left the office wordlessly, with Precious, aware of her trouble, trailing behind. At home, Chief Obey stormed into the living room as Precious knelt, pleading. She confessed everything to her enraged father, who demanded, What did you do? To whom? Sobbing, Precious admitted, Father, I didn't know. I couldn't place her. He scolded her, saying, Precious, I raised you better. Did you ever try to understand her perspective? What does this deal mean for our business? As Precious wept, realizing her grave mistakes, her father stripped her of her luxury apartment, credit card, personal assistant, and car. From now on, you'll use public transport, he declared. Stunned, Precious, who'd never used it and had no plans to, heard him add, Maybe then you'll learn humility. She begged, but he insisted the only way to reclaim her life was to secure Madam Amanda's deal. Shocked and unsure, Precious, after hours of reflection, resolved to try, seeing her father's anger. The next morning, Precious, in her plainest clothes, boarded a crowded bus for the first time. She sat quietly between a snoring man and a fish seller with a crayfish basket nearby. Her manicured nails were chipped, her designer perfume faded. Without a driver or tinted windows to shield her from the sun, she wondered how anyone could live this way and stay content. Near Amanda's company, the bus stopped at an intersection. Precious got off and walked. Reaching the business, her heart raced as she approached the receptionist, who smiled and asked whom she was visiting. Madam Amanda, Precious replied, and the receptionist told her to sit, noting Amanda hadn't arrived. It was 7 a.m., and Amanda wasn't yet in. Waiting, Precious rehearsed her speech. Soon, she decided to use the restroom. There, a striking young woman handed her a mop, mistaking her for a cleaner, and snapped, How dare you come late, you useless cleaner. Precious, humiliated but mindful of her recent mistakes, apologized sincerely and began cleaning the bathroom floor, a task she'd never done. Unfamiliar with mopping tiles without streaking, she struggled as sweat dripped like rain and her back ached. She stayed quiet, cleaning thoroughly while the woman, unaware of Precious' identity, applied lip gloss by the mirror, saying, Don't forget under the sink. The woman left, leaving Precious alone with her mop. Finishing minutes later, Precious returned to the lobby, learning Madam Amanda was now in a meeting. The receptionist suggested, You can go and come back later, but Precious chose to stay. The young woman, who had insulted her in the bathroom, left her workplace and approached the reception, seeing Precious sitting there, exhausted. Angrily, she demanded, Who told you to sit, and handed Precious a mop to clean the CEO's office. Precious trembled at the thought. She walked toward Madam Amanda's office, not as Chief Obey's daughter, but as a cleaner, mop in hand, her body shaking. Like a silent soldier on a battlefield of lessons, she carried the mop to Amanda's office. Fortunately, Amanda wasn't there. As Precious mopped the floor, she wondered what she'd say if Amanda walked in. Her thoughts raced while dragging the mop across the polished marble. Each bead of sweat felt like shame, but also, oddly, healing. She knelt to clean under the table, wiped chair bottoms, and washed glass windows. Each stroke was a silent apology to Amanda. Unsure if this would earn a second chance, Precious felt it was right. Suddenly, the door creaked, and Precious froze, still on her knees, gripping the mop. Slowly, she looked up to see Madame Amanda in her usual plain attire, her calm presence filling the room. Their eyes met, and a heavy silence hung like smoke. "What are you doing in my office?" Amanda asked softly. Precious opened her mouth, but said nothing, then bowed her head and spoke. "Ma, I came to apologize again, but the woman downstairs mistook me for a housekeeper in the restroom. She made me clean the toilet, and told me to tidy your office. After all I've done, I didn't think I should correct her." Amanda entered, quietly closing the door, and went to her desk. She asked Precious, who was crying in shame, if she felt she deserved to correct her. "You've learned something most in power never do, humility, born from being broken, not taught," Amanda said. Precious, tears in her eyes, apologized. "I'm so sorry for everything, Ma. I really am." Amanda nodded slightly. "I believe you," she said. Precious, astonished, asked, "You do?" "Yes," Amanda replied. "You could have left that restroom, shouted at the receptionist, or stormed out in pride, but you stayed silent and followed orders. You remind me of myself years ago." Precious, speechless, listened as Amanda continued. "I was like you, arrogant, pompous, full of myself. I belittled those beneath me, speaking foolishly. Born into wealth, I never knew true suffering. I thought my lack of exact funds was suffering, blocking my goals. But something life-changing happened, despite my abundance. It was a mild, damp afternoon, and I'd bought the priciest car available. Proud, I couldn't wait to show it off. I sent my driver home, and insisted on picking up my daughter from school myself. Isabella, my only child, my miracle, was 7, lively, kind, curious. She asked why I never walked her to school like other parents." Amanda's voice cracked, and she turned to the window, blinking back long-suppressed tears. "I laughed, saying walking parents wish to be like us, unable to afford our car. But Isabella wanted to walk. I ignored her, angrily pushing her into the car and driving. I couldn't grasp why she'd choose walking over our new car. Her cries from the back seat went ignored. Minutes later, at a busy intersection, a truck crashed into us as I turned. Isabella died instantly. I survived, but her voice haunts me. If I'd listened and walked, she might be alive. So, I vowed to walk for the rest of my life to honor her." Precious wept silently, tears streaming down her face, the mop forgotten beside her. "I once thought walking was beneath me, that the world should part for me," Amanda continued. "Now I walk for her memory. Every mile is a silent apology to my daughter." Turning to Precious, the powerful billionaire no longer seemed untouchable, but a broken, grieving mother. "She died in my arms," Amanda whispered, voice shaking. Still buckled in, her lips still. I screamed her name into a silence that never answered. Burying her face in her hands, Amanda sobbed, and Precious' body shook with her own tears. Moving closer, Amanda said, "I don't walk because I'm cursed, but because I carry a promise. I swore my pride would never cost another life." She placed a hand on Precious' shoulder. "Now you choose. Will you live to impress, or to make a difference?" Precious, still crying, nodded faintly, something shifting within her. She'd come to Amanda's building to fix a mistake, but a deeper lesson, born of pain, humility, and love, had taken root. Madame Amanda, the billionaire who never drove, left her office, her steps slow, sacred, as if guided by unseen little feet. Precious no longer cared about her father's wealth. She chose to live with compassion, not entitlement. Stunned, she sat on the lobby sofa, hands clasped, eyes swollen, until Nuna, Amanda's aide, touched her shoulder. Go home, you've done enough today. I'm sorry if I caused trouble, Precious said softly. You didn't cause trouble, you exposed it, Nuna replied firmly, turning toward the reception where Angela, the senior employee who'd ordered Precious to clean, scrolled on her phone. Angela, come with me, Nuna said, heading to the Human Resources office. Are you joking? Angela smirked. That cleaner from earlier, she asked, but Nuna didn't respond. Angela hurried after her, trying to compose herself as they entered HR, and Nuna closed the door. The room was heavy with silence. Do you know who you humiliated this morning? Nuna asked, arms crossed. She didn't say who she was. I thought she was the cleaner, Angela stammered. You assumed she was beneath you because her appearance wasn't polished enough, Nuna pressed. I didn't mean to, Ma. But you did, Nuna said, voice low. You acted on it. In a company built on respect, humility, and dignity, you demeaned her, made her clean a toilet because of how she looked. Angela's face flushed. She wasn't staff. How could I know? It doesn't matter who she was, Nuna said. It matters who you are. Today, you showed you don't belong here. Nuna exhaled. Am I fired, Ma? Angela asked. No, Nuna said coldly. I'm freeing you from a role you never valued. She slid an envelope across the table. Your termination letter is with HR, collect your things and leave. Angela blinked, stunned. This is unfair. Firing me for one mistake. One mistake rooted in arrogance, Nuna countered. This company can't afford that legacy. Next time you meet someone in plain clothes, remember it's not their outfit, but the weight of their story that defines them. Angela gathered her belongings and left. Weeks later, Precious began as an intern at Amanda's company, with no special treatment or family name to lean on. Starting at the bottom, she rode crowded buses, ate street food, filed papers, ran errands, and listened more than she spoke. For the first time, she valued people regardless of their possessions. Through hard work and integrity, she earned respect and rose to Chief Operating Officer, not as Chief Obey's daughter, but as Precious, a dedicated woman. Amanda and even her father were proud, but Precious knew true success lay in lives touched, not cars driven. This story shows that real wealth isn't in possessions or appearance, but in character, compassion, and humility.